Hi, Brigette. What are you doing there?
Hello, Isaac. So, today we're on a field trip. We've come out to Langebaanweg again. It's literally a year since the last trip that we did. Because of the COVID crisis, we haven't been able to do a proper excavation because I wanted to bring out students, and it's not safe to gather students from all across the country, and you cannot social distance in an excavation. It's just not doable. So I've dragged poor Isaac out with me. We had sediments left over. Let me show you.
Okay.
So we had sediments left over from the sieving that we wanted to put through a very fine sieve, a 1mm aperture sieve, to catch all the very tiny bones from the frogs and the mice and very small birds. But because we excavated with water, it all clumps up, nothing goes through the sieves. It was just impossible. And you need quite a lot of gear to do wet sieving. So I've dragged Isaac out because we had a couple of other things we were going to do out at site. And we're busy trying to process some of the bags of wet sieving. So that's what we're busy with today. So we take one of these bags,
Yes.
and we initially empty it into a bucket with some water, because we find the reason we were excavating with water is that there's a concretionary material that sticks the sediment together. It loosens with water, but then it all dries into clumps. So we find if we soak for a few minutes or a few hours, we get a better result in the sieve. And then we've got our 1mm sieve here.
Yeah.
We had to make these specially. To get the steel mesh, I had to have it brought in from Cape Town to where we stay in Blom.
Yes.
And these are just normal drums. They've just got water in them.
Mm-hmm.
And then we pour out our bucket of water, of mud really. Whoops. There you can see it is gloopy. It's the sort of mud you would make mud pies with. Then let me grab some fresh. Because this mud gets seriously sticky. And we pour it out.
So, Brigette, how do you fetch water?
Oh Lord. Isaac's pointing this out because all of the water we're using here gets lugged in the bucket from the corner of the next building. Because I didn't think to bring a hose pipe along. And we needed specific conditions, so the dirt that comes out at the bottom, that goes through the sieves, needs to be poured out onto concrete so that it can be rebagged and kept aside. One, you don't want it contaminating any other potentially fossiliferous areas. And two, because there is an argument that while it's of no further purpose to us now, future generations could find a scientific use for it. They may have the technology to answer new questions with it. And we say that because that's very typical of us in our current world. Very old excavations, the guys would go in, they'd excavate it at a very poor resolution. So they'd excavate like a meter down as a single unit, and only pick out the nice bones and the big bones and discard everything else. So we can go back to their discarded material and find a lot more new information. So we needed somewhere where there was concrete, where there was water, where we could throw out all the old water. So we're making quite a mess out here.
Can you show me how does it work here?
Sure. Let me make some space for you.
Okay.
So you've seen the mud go down into the sieves. We're actually agitating it by hand.
Yes.
Different strokes for different folks. Some sieves have a capacity where you would shake the sieve in the water.
Yeah.
But we don't have a lot of give in these, and it just works better by hand. So you can take your mud and you just work it gently through the screen. And you can feel it going through. So this is not a job you can do with gloves on. And then I'd like to show you, even though the sieve isn't 100% ready yet, when everything's gone through, it has not. But when you've got areas like this where there's no mud, the whole screen's like that, we bring it up and we dump fresh water to clean it.
Okay.
So you can see it's getting a lot clearer now. And then we put it aside to dry, because you cannot get the material out the sieve while it's this wet. Because we're on a time pressure, excavations always have a time pressure. We can't wait for them to dry 100%. So we're bagging them up, we're taking them back to site, to home, and then the lab will open them up and let them air dry properly, and then we can start the next phase. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Now, we could of course get a hose and just hose it out, but that uses a lot more water, and we don't have the materials to do that, aka the hose. So, this is where we are at the moment. Oh, that big bag of sediment, this is what it gets reduced to.
Yes.
And there's lots of lacquer little bones coming up. There's lots of material here that really doesn't, like root material and little stones and that can be discarded, but we need to dry it out and to sort it first.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. So now Isak's busy clearing off the water from the top. We endeavour not to pull up any of the mud while we're doing that. It's just you can't lift a 44-gallon drum, even a half drum, when it's full of water. So we scoop off the excess water and pour it out. And then we'll take the drums. There's a concrete area next to that bluey green building. We put the drums out there, sluice out the mud, and leave it to dry, and then we'll bag it later. Okay, so this is just an area of where we can work inside. I hope my voice is okay in this space. So there's some of our equipment. The boxes were collected from Ezeco. That's all the stuff we excavated last year. I'm based in Bloemfontein. The approved place to house Langebaanweg material, because that's where the rest of the collection is in Cape Town at Ezeco Museum. So the material has to go to Ezeco, has to be accessioned and then loaned to us. We've got our key things and bits and pieces out there, but what I wanted to show you was in here. So let me just switch. Okay, so we've switched the camera around. This was a box of sedimentary samples. I worked a paper on them, which admittedly I haven't done anything with in months. It came back for review, and the reviewers wanted some extra stuff done to the samples, which was problematic because I was in Bloem and the samples were in Cape Town, and then we were in lockdown, so they didn't get anything done. But now I can actually do that. Now, if you just hold on for me a second, sorry. This is what I wanted to show you. Now, I've unstrapped the boxes. I only strap them for transport reasons, mostly. So this, I wanted to show you this because this is the crude sieve material. Oops, damn it, that's still attached. Let's see if we can get you. So this stuff was in a 3mm sieve. And you could see there's the bones and things. You do get some smaller bones in the 3mm sieve. But the very fine stuff, you have to go down to a 1mm. And this is most of what we catch. You can see it's still very dirty compared to the stuff from the sieves on the other side. So this, now we could sit and begin sorting this while we wait for things to dry, but I actually want to wash these. You have to wash them anyway, you can't do anything with them as they are now. So when we get everything back at Langebaan, we will wash. So we will lay each of those packets out in the sieve, rinse it clean, let it dry, carry on. These are plotted fine, so these were all the larger pieces that we plotted in 3-dimensional space with the total station. This box specifically has all the tortoises in. So there's a nice femur head, There's a nice big bone from the edge of the shell. And these also need cleaning. These will all get individual accession numbers because they're all identifiable. So they'll be cleaned, dried, and then numbered. And this is where the accessioning comes in. So I gave Serena at Ezeco. Let me do it this way. So I gave Serena at Ezeco the list of materials we'd found, the plotted one specifically, and she's then added to that list accession numbers for everything. Now this stuff, because we don't know what we're going to find in here, they'll stay with their field numbers, and then once the stuff is studied and identified, each thing can have an individual number, or they'll all get a group accession number, depending on what happens. Is it tea time? No, it's lunchtime.
No.
It's lunchtime. I've lost all track of time again. Yeah, that's going to be a catchphrase for excavations, I think. Well, our field trip's almost over. We've had the luck of the devil that we got all the work done, most of the cleanup done before the rain set in, and now it's setting in with a vengeance.